Afternoon and welcome to Techopia Live. Thank you so very much for joining us here today on our Facebook page. Yes, we are excited as yet again we are sitting down with a phenomenal entrepreneur. Now, we can definitely no longer afford to wait and see if digital currencies are part of the future. They are already playing a big role in the future of financial transactions. With us here today, we have the CEO and founder of Bitaccess, Mo Adams. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We are very excited to learn a little bit more about how your company first got involved in this trend and what you are doing at this point. So let's start at the beginning. When we hear digital currency, we think magic internet money, as we just said. We were joking saying it's credits that you earn through playing Super Mario. We have no idea. But you got into this at a very early stage, as early as 2009. So explain to me a little bit that journey and to where you are now, and we'll get deeper into that.
Thanks a lot for having me, Carlo, and I appreciate the intro. So just to clarify, I got involved in 2011, but digital currency did start in 2009 when Bitcoin launched right after the financial crisis. And yeah, I got started back in 2011 when I had some free time and some computing resources, and I decided to mine Bitcoins. And you're right. Back then, we were just a group of people on forums and on Reddit joking around about our magic internet money and playing around with it. And it was a really fun experiment because I don't think that any of us really expect it to be what it is today. There might have been a small number of us who really believed in the future, but a lot of us, I think, were just having fun. But things evolved quite quickly, and I managed to start Bitaccess in 2014 with a group of other entrepreneurs here in Ottawa. And we got started, and we really didn't necessarily have a vision of wanting to build a specific product. We just wanted to make it easy for people, because we would always be telling our friends and family about this new technology, and everyone would be like ultra confused. Like, what are you talking about? This makes no sense. I have no idea how to use this. Go back to your computer. And so effectively what we did is we just built the simplest possible product for people to use digital currency. And that was what was now known as a Bitcoin ATM, or we coined the term BTM, so Bitcoin Teller Machine. And what that was really, it was a kiosk where you just feed cash in and it gives you Bitcoins out. Or you put Bitcoins in and it feeds cash out. And so it's like an ATM, except you have no debit card, you use your phone. And that was the first product. It was really something quite simple. It only did one thing, and it did that really well. And it was a hit at the start. You know, people really loved this because it was the first time that you could go somewhere and interface with this new technology. It was somewhere where you could trustedly go and say, like, Bitcoin is a real thing, here's this real machine, it's right in front of me, and I can use it. And so when we got started, it was really exciting. We got a lot of orders from all over the world. We overextended ourselves, we maxed out our credit cards, and we just started building these. And lucky enough, it worked out for us. We managed to get into this incubator called Y Combinator down in California, who helped us get some funding, build a team, and now we're just off to the races.
Okay, wow. Okay, so Y Combinator? I mean, once again, that is one of the biggest incubator programs in the world. What has been your experience there, and what has that meant for you as a company?
That's a great question. It is a terrific program, and we did it back in 2014. And I would say that, you know, Bitaccess is infinitely better company because we did it. Silicon Valley is a very fun place. Silicon Valley, everybody wants to believe. You know, you can have a big idea, and you can try to build it in a lot of cities, but you can get a lot of negative reinforcement loops when you're trying to really change the world in a small town. But in the Valley, people, they all want to believe. If you go to the Valley and you say, I'm going to replace the US dollar with a digital currency, you know, people will believe. And of course, your ambition isn't actually to replace the US dollar, but you have to have a polarizing view of really trying to do something big, and that's where you go to do it. And so, you know, the mentorship that we got there, as well as the advice and the ongoing support from the community of founders was really pivotal to our current success.
That's wonderful to hear, and it's always nice to be in an environment where people are so supportive, regardless of how magical those ideas may be. Interesting, what would you say in being here in Ottawa and being surrounded by a city that's doing so many great things at the moment, how are we stacking up against, you know, that environment?
That's a great question, Carlo. And like we went to California, but we're back here.
Yeah.
We're still hiring in Ottawa. We have a team in Ottawa. We have an office in Westboro. Ottawa's a great town. I think that Ottawa has a lot going for it, and I think we should just talk about ourselves more. I think that we have great talent. We have a great livable city, really good cost, and really like it's not that small ideas are all that Ottawa produces. You can look at Shopify as a great example of a homegrown success. And so Ottawa is a terrific town to start a company, in my opinion. I think that we have, like I said, great access to talent, great cost of living, beautiful city to live in. And so it's just a matter of us talking more about ourselves, doing shows like Techopia, getting the word out there. And I suspect that we're going to start to see more dreamers, maybe go to California for a bit, raise some money, but then come back and build the company in Ottawa.
Now, let's talk a little bit about just, blockchain has gotten only more complex, since you've been a part of it. What is something exciting that you're doing with the technology today?
That's a terrific question, Carlo. And so I can say that, Bitaccess's goal has always just been make Bitcoin simple. And now by making Bitcoin simple, you actually make the technology behind Bitcoin, which is blockchain, simple itself. And what's interesting is that this is a technology that has no predefined use. It's just this new technology. It's a new type of network on which different people can try to agree on a certain subject. Really, if you look at it from its base level. And I won't go into the technical details of that, but what we find really interesting is actually that you can do some very interesting auditing and provability by using this technology. And I think that if you look at the current landscape of information and all this discussion about what's real and what's fake, blockchain is going to play a very interesting role in helping define that and helping make governments more accountable, companies more accountable, and transparency just more prevalent. And it makes it prevalent, provable, and cheap. And I think that one of the most exciting things that we're working on these days is working on building tools so that governments, companies can start to publish provable information on these networks, which will eventually reduce the cost of auditability, but also increase transparency significantly.
Okay, wow, all right. It sounds both exciting and slightly confusing. but I mean, explain to me a little bit when you say you are trying, explain that process or give me an example of how that process would work.
Sure, let me give you a more concrete example. So let's just say, for example, the Canadian government spends a specific amount of money every year on services. And you were a citizen and you want to know, how much is the Canadian government spending? Well, you could go to their website, but that could be out of date and it could be changed, and there's no real certainty of really what is actually happening. But with a technology like the blockchain, you could conceive of a day when the government would actually imprint their spending onto the blockchain in real time. And then all the citizens would be able to immediately know what is the government spending their money on, where is it going, and they can never go back and change the numbers. And so that increases transparency and auditability, and I think that that's going to be very beneficial, maybe not necessarily in Canada, but as this technology grows, you're going to start to see that it's solving a lot of problems around that specific space.
Okay, there you go. Thank you very much. Putting that in layman's terms. Now, I once again, when we started this conversation just before we went live, and for those of you that's joining us today, we're here at KRP Properties, which is so much more than space. It really is about showcasing some of the amazing tech that we have in our city. And with us today, we have the President and CEO of Bitaccess, Mo Adams, and he is talking about, yes, Bitaccess, blockchain, Bitcoin, so on and so forth. And you said to me when you first started this, it was a bunch of guys just, playing on their computer, so to speak. And the market is still undefined where it can really go. There is obviously directions that you're going in, but it's come so far. And as you say, it's really created some ambition for you as a company, and it's really given you the drive to even push this further. Where do you want this to go? Where would you like this to go? Where do you see this going? I mean, you gave us a little bit of taste now, but what's next?
That's a great question. So I would say that I think for the first 2 years of our business and probably 6 years of the industry, our first goal was to make sure that we didn't disappear. The first goal we had was to make sure that digital currency and blockchain networks were here to stay. And I can say now that I'm quite confident that that's the situation. This is out there now and it's not going anywhere. But it's still very new in the sense that it's kind of like the original web. Before a web browser came out and a web page came out, nobody really knew what was the point of the web. And I still believe that we're in that space in the blockchain world. We haven't found that killer app that makes everybody want to use digital currency. And what we're seeing now is just rampant experimentation. Everybody's just building what they think is cool and what they think could be the next killer app. And so I can honestly say I don't know where we're going to be in 5 years. I had no idea that we would be here today, looking back at when we started. But I will say that I think it's going to be really cool and exciting, and I hope that we're one of those killer apps that comes out there. But even if it's not us who makes that killer app, I'm still really, really happy to be working in this industry because we're really doing something new. And there's not that many industries these days where you're doing something totally new, totally transformational.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. It was really transformational to have you here on the show. For those of you that's joined us today, thank you very much. Make sure that you share, like our page. Make sure that you go and join us on techopia.ca, which will publish some more information with regards to Bitaccess and, of course, Mo. Thank you so much, and keep on doing what you're doing. We look forward to see where this is going to go in the future. Thank you.